What's up guys, it's the Devil's Town here, and in today's video we have another installment of viewer VOD reviews. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I've actually already VOD reviewed Binsniffer, but he has a different trio for us today. We're going to be taking a look at what they did well in the EU Trio Cash Cup, and what they need to improve on as a trio, and we're going to be doing this by analyzing their best game and their worst game. But before I get into this video analysis, guys, if you do enjoy my content or find what I'm telling you helpful, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. Alright guys, as you can see on the screen, we have Binsniffer's POV. This is going to be their best game from the Solo Cash Cup, and I'm kind of going to break it down into three pieces: early game, mid game, and end game, and kind of grades on what I thought was really good and what I thought was really poor, whatever it is going to be the case. And like I said, we're going to be taking a look at their best game and their worst game. So a game where they died mid-game, very little points, no kills, versus a game where they end up actually winning this game. Now, I'm not going to show early game because they actually got Lazy Lake uncontested, so I'm going to give them an A+, just because of that fortunate fact that no one fought them off spawn. They have excellent loot. They're absolutely stacked, as you can see. Purple shotgun, purple pistol for Binsniffer, purple leveler here. Good amount of minis, and then green tack. Still really good loot, really good hills all around, so very good in terms of RNG. Now let's talk about their mid game. Their mid game is going to start off very good mid game. I'm going to give them an A+ for their mid game, and I'm going to talk about why. Mid game wins them this entire game. I'm going to show you their positioning was excellent throughout, and they use their bouncers really well, use their movement really well. Let's take a look. So we're going to get here. This is just a very common thing. Using vehicles in second zone is really good, and it gives you you want to get in to more center as possible. And why do you want to get in more center as possible? Well, the answer is because there's limited mobility. There isn't bouncer shockwave, so you want to get in as much as you possibly can. Now this trio is also looking for elevation, which is really good. And so what I'm going to tell you about what Binsniffer right here does right here is going to be really good and set up their entire game. So they decide to take this elevation. Now look, notice how there's this trio right here, but they're not very good. They're based up on the side of the mountain as opposed to the top of the mountain on a very scuffed layer. You're going to see Tribute and Storms kind of pressure them, and then they're just going to let them kind of free rotate, and Ben is going to take this level of elevation for his entire trio for the taking. This is really good positioning early. Why? It's in second zone. Elevation middle isn't that important. You don't really have a great idea of where the zone is going to be. It makes your rotations significantly a lot easier. They're going to end up getting a zone here. Let's just kind of fast forward through this, as they don't really do anything. They kind of pressure, refarm, don't do anything too insane here. So as it tucks down, this other trio decides to rotate in, and so what do? Why are they rotating in? Because the zone's here, so it's easier to go down, and then boom, they take up more elevation. All this high ground is really good. Now they're not even gonna get, there's not a good chance that they're going to get center. However, because of their elevation, their rotation will be easier, and they have good line of sights for tags if this was a more stacked game. And so you're going to see what ends up happening here is they end up staying on high ground because of their positioning in middle game. This is really going to benefit them. As you're going to see, once this circle closes here, what ends up happening is they end up getting a zone right on top of these guys. They use a bouncer and save a lot of materials, and then they immediately bouncer and take height. Now again, they're in an excellent position. They're up on high ground. Even if they have a max pool, they can bouncer, use a lot of space. They can funnel down, let everyone go in front of them, and they haven't used a significant amount of mats. 109 builds, 113 builds, and 104 builds, so a good amount of materials. Now they're gonna get blessed with half and half here, but their positioning is kind of set this up. Them bouncing over has given them alpha to basically the rest of the lobby. And once this gets into half and half, at the start of moving in half and half, I'm going to slow it down to one. We're going to talk about Endgame because it is the most important fast, obviously. A little bad over peak there, by the way, just kind of standing out in the open with the whole lobby look. Now they get half and half, and once this starts to close, we're going to talk about it. And for their end grade, for their end game grade, I'm going to give them a little bit more of a harsh grade. They're off to a great start. Mid game is why they win. Their end game could have actually been significantly better with their excellent positioning. Alright, let's start now. First moving, They're pressuring here off these. They're in a great position. They also get a favorable zone. But look, they're on dead side. Good decision to switch to wood. That'd still be able to shot as one. So just be mindful of that. Probably would have died to fall damage. They kind of reconnect. You could have all maybe split cones there. If you want to reconnect that. But now look at this powered position that we're in. So what should be happening here is there should be one just kind of leading ahead, leading the way. While this other... So these people should be leading the way, right? And I don't know how many bouncers we have. We have bouncers. So we're building what we could do. This is extremely risky to solo tarp this high. But a little bit right here, notice like we're still not getting ahead. We're all kind of staying together. What you want to do is, this is a good decision to go down, I will say that. But they end up getting it. Binsniffer ends up getting caught up a little bit here, right? You're going to see what ends up happening. He ends up getting caught, and he could have been there so much sooner. They could have had two go back, one lead, one just kind of tarp, and make that a little bit better. One could have bouncered ahead, and then to old side of these builds and built up and connected. That would probably have been the best play to save the most amount of materials and kind of just bridge the gap faster. But Binsniffer is fortunate right here to only take as much damage as he did. He eventually does get up to the mountain. This is good awareness for Binsniffer. He leads. But notice we're sitting here on high ground. We're using a ton of mats to get up here. We've actually got no kills from this high ground position. We haven't done any good job of holds. This end game was not as clean as their mid game. They're not really playing. They're not really coordinating anything. Oops, I hit the wrong button. I apologize. Like they're just kind of all burning mats to get back up when there is ways to get there. And we still have bouncers. Hold on, remember. Yeah, bouncers. Still not using bouncers, so just a significant wasting of materials, but just because of their positioning, it's not too bad. Now they start using their bouncers, which is good. Kind of split mats here. Good bounce. Storms, I believe, ends up getting a frag. Let's see where. Yeah, Storms ends up getting a frag. Let's take a look at it. Just see if we do get one good hold. Let's see. Does he end up getting... Nope, it was not there. I'm sure he gets it on someone else. Nice, just gets a good, nice little laser. Alright, let's go back towards the end game that we already talked about. And so, like you said, just a big wasting of mats. All three players are using mats. Fortunately, they do have bouncers. They could have definitely maximized this. Alright, so now we're moving into of 7th zone. Good bouncer right here. Good job right here. I like this now. Now they're kind of connected. Notice how they're kind of all just... Now good bouncer again. Getting up to the opposite height. Beautiful. They need it now. This is really poor right here. Actually, I don't believe it's this. They're only on one or two ramps, I believe. They're doing a better job of pressuring. I like this split a little bit better. Yeah, Binsniffer is going to, start solo tarping. Let's just go back. This is only on one. So this is poor connection awareness right here. And not only is it poor connection awareness, it's single tarping at a significantly high level. They're only off like one or two builds. Now Tribute is back here. I like this a little bit because this creates a lot of angles. That's what should be maybe two ahead or one back. You can kind of split it as whatever you want to do. And he ends up getting all the defrags late. Sniffer ends up getting a kill here as well. Let's take a look how he gets knocked. So now he's single tarping right here. And it's because he doesn't have a lot of mats, but he's single tarping a metal on a side where no one is. This is a good angle if you just kind of double tarp it. He ends up getting headshot snipe over peeking. That really is unfortunate. But the worst of the worst is going to happen. They're all in the same layer. They're not split layering. There's not someone ulti. They're not well connected. And so what it's going to happen, Tribute takes up a lot of fall damage. Storms doesn't do much either. Tribute doesn't have a lot of mats. He starts tunneling. He does get up, fortunately. Storm still being the most ahead. The whole lobby, they kind of are very fortunate. This whole lobby almost is storm held. If you're gonna really see, if we're gonna take a look at Tribute here. he gets a fry on this particular individual. Everyone is still stuck in Storm. It just goes up a little bit. Everyone just couldn't cover all that elevation. He gets a knocked opponent down. That's not even for his kill. And then right here, kind of sitting here, pressuring this opponent who's sitting here back in Storm. Now, no need to go in Storm and tank on this last particular opponent. Almost dies the Storm here. Very, very fortunate. He does get a harpoon play, but they end up losing height and running out of mats. That opponent had made a better play. So honestly, I would say this endgame needs a significant amount of work. It wasn't efficient. They didn't capitalize on having a height position the entire time. Really, only 7 frags isn't a lot, and they were really, really fortunate with their mat usage. Binsniffer getting sniped too and moving zones over peaking, just being a little bit overzealous, and kind of single tarping got them knocked out. It wasn't as good as it could have been. There could have definitely been more eliminations. If they had used their mats better, they could have single or double tarped where Binsniffer was right there and maybe look for more frags. Maybe do an ultimate height split as well to maybe prevent that. Have that bottom 2 kind of connect, make sure they're nice and connected, and someone ulti high so no one can really challenge them at the end. But they got the job done, and a really good start to the Cash Cup. Mid-game was excellent. Give them an A for that. That's what won them this game 100%, to be honest. And some good zones. They got half and half. They had good pulls. They had old builds to go to. But the end game, I think, needs a little bit more work. Needs better coordination, less mat wasting, more coordination in terms of getting angles. I mean, to only come away with, 7 frags when you're on high ground from 5th on, actually from 4th on, is a little bit unfortunate. You're hoping to get a little bit more eliminations, and that's just kind of in that first 6 zone rotate was just a significant mat dump that didn't really need to happen. One person should bounce their head. They should all connect, and they should have got up to that mountain ASAP. Binsniffer shouldn't have gotten cut off from that person who was on low and take a significant amount of damage, having to waste a lot of mats. She'd already be there, establishing, getting even more holds, because they got to that mountain power position. If they get there early, their kill total will skyrocket if they play that correctly. They didn't even do anything when they got up to the hill, which is, again, just something we need to work on. So for their end game, I'll probably give them a C-, somewhere around there. They definitely wasted a lot of potential, but again, really good early game because they're uncontested, and a really good mid-game, again, being really crucial, really good understanding, getting elevation in second and third, using cars to get in deep, and then using that one bouncer to get up and head, and then just good playing elevation the whole time. Really good stuff in terms of that. And then end game, again, needs some work. Alright guys, as you can see now, we have Binsniffer's POV again. This is going to be their worst game of the Cash Cup. This is going to be a 17th place with 0 eliminations and over around 20 or around 18 minutes of game time, all for 1 point, so dying in mid-game. And this is going to be the cause of an early game, I would say more mid-game. I guess you could also say early just because of the fact it is first zone. So we'll call this an early game mistake. So let's take a look at what ends up happening here. You see Binsniffer here is going to be chilling with Tribute right here. And what is going to end up happening, there is some bush rats ahead. However, the mistake here is pretty obvious. This trio is really excited by the fact that they only see, that's going to fry him, is only going to see Binsniffer gets fried. There's 3 of them camping in a bush up there, as you're going to see. A whole trio. Bush ratting, I understand, but here's the mistake. Look at this. You have, over here, you have Storms vibing way back here, and then now this looks like a 3v2. And so this trio immediately pushes. Storms tries to get some good tags, but he's really no help. Now, Tribute also makes a mistake here. He gets cracked for a little bit. Now, it's like, I understand the triple charge, but now he's pinched. Because now he's pinched, he has nowhere to go. And he was going to have to basically take a prayer. Binsniffer couldn't get to him. Their goal should have been able to get there. Fortunately, that Storms gets a nice fry on Larix. Binsniffer, what is he going to end up doing is sitting here cone peak and playing dead. But this is all a big mistake due to the fact that Storms is so split. This trio gets very, very aggressive, thinking it's a 3v2. They end up isolating, getting a good pinch. And I think the mistake there is obviously, besides the spacing, it's just just kind of tribute sitting there holding a charge and not really using them as materials, trying to get space and get to Binsniffer and wait for Storms to get there so it turns into a 3v3. Maybe get the trio to overextend. Storms can fry. They should immediately be pushing back. Storms should be coming forward, and then Tribute and Binsniffer need to come back so they can kind of all regroup. They have tons. They have good loot. They have great heals. They got lazy unconned again, which is really, really, really good. Unfortunately, this mid game has now caused them to lose one of their players. Let's take a look at kind of what ends up happening a little bit later on. So let's kind of skip forward here. We're going to see that Storms is going to get completely split from Binsniffer. You're going to see this is not what you want to see in a trio cash cup. Now, what they're going to eventually end up leaking, Storms goes away, drives away, ends up getting fried. But they all meet up at the river. Unfortunately, Binsniffer is going to get caught into this horrible situation, as you're going to see right here. And it's just too not playing tight enough. So I would recommend they should be getting a lot closer now, because this trio sees him. He can't really hide out in the open, and so he ends up getting shot. Now let's take a look at this engagement, because Binsniffer does an excellent job extending this as much as he possibly can. However, it may just not be worth it. Getting only 1 point in 18 minutes is really, really unfortunate. You're probably just better off taking the L and moving on, saving you some tournament time, maybe get you in a lower level lobby, which you can get a good WP game in. But Binsniffer is going to do a great job in this one. This trio did not play this well at all. They gas spam him, which is no good. Good 84 crack right here. Good job of extending space right here. Another tag. And you also see Storms is now contributing from a range with another good fry. But what's going to end up happening smartly here. Binsniffer doing a good job as a solo. Kind of playing, using all the space he's created. Does that again. Creating more space, and he starts swimming back. Good decision to box up here, kind of regroup. Maybe use a chug flash or two. Really, really good stuff from Binsniffer. And now they've reunited. Great job as a solo. That's an A+ effort, especially in essentially what was a 3v1. And they do an excellent job. Now, the next part of their mid game is still pretty solid, I would say, for the most part. It's kind of not as good as it gets, just kind of zone pulls far. What ends up happening here is what we'll talk about. They're playing dead side, which is good. They're playing on the south side of the map, because especially their duo, they want to have to worry about anything running into opponents. So I like the decision to play south here more. But here's part of the problem with them playing south. They're going to get into an area that has a whole lot of congestion, and they don't have a vehicle. Or they had a vehicle, they don't really use it, unfortunately due to the water. But we kind of can skip through here. And then I'm going to explain just kind of some of the mistakes of this mid-game that's going to be really, really crucial. Especially since they're a duo, they're trying to play cautious, which I understand. Okay, but they leave a car behind here. And now they're in third zone. They have a far rotate. There's no elevation. There's nothing. Let's go just kind of go from here, because everything goes bad because everyone's on elevation, right? That they have to go into a bunch of elevation. They're going into the big hilly area of the map. I don't know if that car was booted. I mean, before I chastise them for not taking a car, was it booted? If it's booted, then you got to make do with what you have. Hold on, let me look. Nope, it does not appear to be booted. Let's just make sure. I know how to do this much better on controller. It is not booted. Okay. Apologies, just had to grab that right there. Okay, so now that they don't take this car for mid game, and this will get them so much further ahead. But what ends up happening here, as this trio kind of goes like ahead next to him, you're going to see Binsniffer let this trio go ahead. Now they could, if they were in a car, they could again take this road, because these people are all worried about rotating. So what ends up happening now is this other trio rolls up from the side. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. I apologize. But we'll see. We'll kind of play it at one speed. The vehicle kind of gives them a lot to work with. Sure, it's not great. They couldn't take it around the car. It gives them a little bit of protection. You're going to see them, they kind of sit here and wait back. Now, I'm not sure if they let this trio go ahead. Let's kind of see what happens here from Storm's POV. What I'm thinking happened is they kind of just realized it's a duo. It's kind of the same thing, unfortunately. Yeah, these right there, not awareness from Binsniffer. They do a good job of building. They know that there's opponents there. Good job right there. At least to avoid it for the most, but you use more mats now. Have an okay number of mats. Doing a good job of swimming. They get up ahead. But again, they're kind of just... Nice little tag there. Maybe if there's... So they get into this old type of builds here. Let's see kind of what ends up. He gets sniped. Taking out in the open is... No, that's completely brain dead, I'm not gonna lie. Oh my god, he's so lucky. He just didn't get sniped there, but he already got sniped once. Now, I don't mind the bush play, but here's the thing. I understand you're a duo, but you have 115 builds, you have 116, you're on edge, you're gonna have to move forward more than likely, right? So let's kind of skip forward and see what happens. And this duo's already seen you go in this bush, or this tree has already seen you go in the bush, so what's gonna end up happening is that they know that you're in there. Yep. Should have continued to go for position. And then he just basically gets triple teamed, and so what ends up happening here is now Storms is kind of left on his own. He has 99 mats. And notice, see, rotating was definitely possible. They just got behind. Right, this mid game is nowhere near as good. They didn't get to play any elevation. They didn't use the same strat with the car, getting them in early. And I understand they're a duo, but you still have to play confident as a duo. Like, and just two people getting isolated and picked off can happen, but that early game mistake of split coming up huge. Now noticing that they're kind of late behind the 8 ball with rotating to get another far zone. But a good thing about this is they let you have all of this extra congestion in front of you to follow. They're doing a good job. I don't know what standing here waiting for is. That's unbelievable that that worked out. Now going up to the mountain, this is a really good decision. Using his wood. Getting a pretty heavy key. That doesn't cover his back there. One gets sniped, which is I think is his saving grace. He goes in the bush here. Now he's on elevation. He doesn't have that much of a rotate. I don't know why he doesn't pop shield. He decides to go underneath here. He takes minis, takes a big. Now, I don't know exactly where he is on the position, but going down here was also a huge mistake. You see this trio that's already boxed up? I believe he might actually have people right above him. Look. He does, but they're not super duper. They're not on top of his head. Okay. Yeah, I think the play here. Now this 56 mats, it's not a lot. It's about 500 mats. But getting right under here, underneath, a full trio is not good. You just want to get in at this point. And they can hear you, right? There's just too much passivity in like bush hiding and bush camping. They're not playing they're playing super duper duper passive. Which is, I understand, but you got to be aggressive in your rotations. And what's going to end up happening here is they're going to realize that he's here. They have edits on him. It's a full trio. They get another. He gets a horrible zone again. But if he was, opponent knows he's there. They could have maybe gotten. Staying up that elevation would have made his rotate easier, especially so that just needs a lot of that early game mistake. So for early game, I'll give them I give you a D minus just because of the fact that you had lazy unconned and you lose one. Not only do you not get the reboot card, you create a giant split. Binsniffer does a miracle job of not getting picked off in a 3v1, and I think honestly fully committing to the fight is better in the long run just because of the fact that one, you're playing as a duo with no chance of reviving the solo. Based on your match history, you already had two first place, or you had two top fives in your first two games, so that's a significant amount of play time. Like, you having a huge this game here with a decently good lobby and it taking 18 minutes and you're only getting one placement point out of it, not as worth. They did everything they kind of can to survive, but if they were truly, like, if they attacked this game and didn't play so passive, like constantly hiding in bushes, constantly hiding under builds, and I understand you're a solo, but sometimes you got to push it. If you push it together as a duo, kind of sitting there in the bush getting sniped, taking shield out in the open, it just wasn't a very clean mid game. They could have taken the vehicle, which could have gotten them ahead of the team that kind of tried to hold them. Might have maximized that vehicle, get as far as they possibly go. Just those were some bigger mistakes. They kind of did the exact opposite, right? They weren't playing elevation. They weren't playing dead side. That is for sure, being on the south side of the map. But what ended up happening is the zone went more north, and so everyone that was already south was funneling in. Everyone in north was kind of already established. But again, the car would have allowed them to get ahead, at least in my opinion, get ahead. I know they didn't want to make too many noises to do it, but I believe that's the true play. You really got it in the second zone. Use vehicles, second and third zone, use vehicles to get you as center or up to elevation, as quickly as possible. There isn't a lot of movement. There isn't shockwaves. There isn't things that's going to allow you to get these rotation. Look at all this elevation as well. If they were fortunate enough to get up to mid, they could have been on a good layer of elevation. If they got into that spot maybe 2 minutes sooner, if they just take the car and go and not really worry about anything, or let the car get as far as they can and then swim and just continue to go instead of slowing the pace once they got their heels off to continue the pace. But overall, not bad. Just the biggest thing, I think, just needs some work. I understand this game was a little bit scuffed just because it was a duo, but just the mid game, just more urgency in the rotations. They have a good knowledge. Just keep that distance a lot tighter. Also, early game, you can't afford to get one picked off. That was a huge mistake. You're very fortunate, Binsniffer, also to get it picked off. The distance between the trios mates was significant in that game, as opposed to the other games. It was not in the first game, where they did extremely well. Overall, they have a good understanding of rotations. I think for sure they know how to play dead side. They just need a little bit more urgency. They showed it in that first game, so I think their mid game is fine. Their end game needs a little bit of work to maximize, get more kills and maximize what they can do. And then early game, just staying a little bit tighter. I didn't see them fight off spawn. I didn't see they do die off spawn a couple of times. I saw in their full 10 gameplays, but again, like I said, I want to look at their best game and what I consider their worst game, which is an 18-minute game. That's 1 point, which to me is way worse than if you just die off spawn and it takes up 3 minutes. That's completely different. 18, you can invest a lot of time only for 1 point, so it's really unfortunate. But guys, I thank you for your time. I hope you did enjoy today's VOD review. If you did, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. And I hope I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.